June 2026, SpaceX becomes a public company and pulls off the biggest IPO in human history. But that's not the crazy part. Elon Musk claims this business could one day generate $28.5 trillion a year. He says SpaceX will eventually be worth more than the rest of planet Earth combined. Wall Street says the whole company is worth about $2 trillion, and even that number has people screaming bubble. Somebody here is very, very wrong. In the next couple of minutes, what SpaceX actually owns, what the IPO really tells us, and what you are actually buying if you ever buy this stock. To understand the price, you need the story. 2002, Musk found SpaceX with his PayPal money, and the industry treats it as a rich man's hobby. By 2008, the company is weeks from death. 3 launches, 3 failures, the money gone. The 4th rocket flies, and days later NASA hands SpaceX a contract that saves the company. Then the impossible becomes routine. 2012, the first private ship docks with the space station. 2015, a Falcon 9 booster lands itself back on Earth, standing upright like science fiction. 2017, a used booster flies again, and the cost of reaching space starts collapsing. 2020, SpaceX flies NASA astronauts, ending America's dependence on Russia. From 2019, Starlink satellites blanket the sky. And in June 2026, the company that nearly died broke, rings the Nasdaq bell. So what did investors actually buy? 4 businesses, stacked on top of each other. Launch: Falcon 9 now carries the large majority of everything humanity sends to orbit, a near monopoly, and it makes money. Starlink, internet from space, over 10 million customers in 160 countries, already the biggest slice of SpaceX's revenue. Dragon, the only American spacecraft carrying crews today. And Starship, the fully reusable monster rocket that is still experimental, still occasionally exploding, and still the entire long-term thesis. One company owns the rockets, the satellites, the network, and the customer. Nobody else owns the whole stack. And Starlink is the growth engine. 1 million customers by the end of 2022. 2 million a year later. 4.6 million by the end of 2024. By March 2026, over 10 million. This is the business Wall Street believes can turn rockets into recurring revenue. Internet subscriptions. From orbit. Now, the IPO itself. This June, SpaceX hit the Nasdaq at $135 a share, roughly $75 billion raised. The old records are on your screen. SpaceX didn't just break them, it nearly tripled the biggest one. And in an unusual move, up to 30% of shares went to retail investors. That's how hot the demand was, and how much of this stock now sits in ordinary portfolios. Then reality kicked in. $225 within days, $113 by late July, below the IPO price. This is what happens when a legendary company meets an extreme valuation. Everyone agrees it's great. Nobody agrees what it's worth. Here's the roadmap you're investing in. Short term, make Starship boringly reliable, and beam Starlink straight to your phone. No dish, no cell tower. Medium term, land NASA astronauts on the moon with Starship, and fly commercial cargo at a fraction of today's cost. Long term, and this is where Musk loses the skeptics, a self-sustaining city on Mars, and giant solar-powered data centers in orbit, running AI where energy is free and cooling is the vacuum of space. Sounds crazy? Sure. So did landing a rocket on its tail. Time to talk like investors. Last year, SpaceX brought in under $19 billion, and lost almost $5 billion doing it. On screen, what today's trillion-dollar giants actually earn. They have nothing to do with space, just look at the gap. Yet the market prices SpaceX in that club, roughly 50 times expected sales, for a company still losing money. You're not buying today's business. You're buying a dream, a bet on a long future. So why do smart people pay it anyway? Because if the story lands, the numbers get stupid. Morgan Stanley models $330 billion of revenue by 2030. Musk publicly called that too low. His number is $1 trillion. His long-run claim, up to $28.5 trillion a year across launch, Starlink, and AI compute in space. And his most famous line, SpaceX will be worth more than the rest of Earth. Here's the honest version. If Starship works and orbital data centers become real, today's $2 trillion will look cheap. Every word of that sentence begins with if. Now the part the hype videos skip. 1. Space is brutally hard. Rockets explode, timelines slip by years, and Starship doesn't just need to fly, it needs to get cheap. 2. This is a one-man risk stock. No Musk, no thesis. 3. And mark this date, the sellers are coming. Remember, many of these insiders and employees have waited decades for this IPO. This is the moment they finally get to turn paper shares into real money, and they haven't been allowed to sell a single one yet. The first window opens in early August, unlocking about 20% of insider shares. Smaller batches unlock every month after, through December. Musk himself is locked until June 2027. Translation: for the next year, a steady stream of new supply hits this stock. That's not a scandal, it's the schedule. But it means turbulence is guaranteed. So here's my plan. Not advice, just how I'm playing it. First, the honest filter. This bet only makes sense if you believe in space as the next great industry, and that Elon actually pulls this off. If you don't believe that, the answer is simple. Don't invest. Skip it, and that's fine. If you do believe, then, small amounts. A fixed budget I decide up front. Bought slowly. On the violent pullbacks this stock will absolutely have. Unlocked days, failed launches, missed deadlines. A position size so I can hold it for 10 years without checking the price every morning. This is a rare company where the bulls and the bears will both be right, just on different days. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research. If this helped you see past both the hype and the fear, subscribe. There's a lot more the market isn't telling you.